Hello les amis et bienvenue dans cet épisode un peu spécial de Tone Factory. Aujourd'hui avec moi Philippe de la marque Beatronix, le fondateur de la marque Beatronix, une marque qu'on adore dans Tone Factory, vous le savez, on utilise notamment la Octave depuis des années, on a essayé il y a pas longtemps la CB, on va parler de tout ça, mais on va surtout parler de l'histoire de la marque et de l'histoire de ce monsieur, Philippe, avec qui j'ai eu l'occasion de beaucoup discuter et qui a un super background musical, vous allez le voir, donc c'est pas pour rien que c'est pédales sonne, vous allez le comprendre dans cet épisode qui j'espère va vous plaire. C'est parti. Hello, Felipe.
Hey,
Thanks to coming here today.
thank you for having me. I'm glad to be in France.
Yeah, it's a real honor for me because I'm a huge fan of your stuff. We're going to talk about that in that episode. But first, I want to know a lot of things about you, about the pedals, about the brand. So, where do you from?
At first, I'll say the love is mutual. We love your videos. We love watching you play the pedals. So it's great to be here.
Thank you very much.
I'm from Brazil, actually. I'm originally, I was born in Rio, but I was raised in São Paulo. And I lived in Brazil up until I was 23.
Okay.
Yeah. And for the past 13, 14 years, I've been in Los Angeles.
And all that musical area, it's really special in the world of music. It's a real special city. So why did you move to Los Angeles?
Yeah, I mean, I never planned to move to Los Angeles and like, oh, let me go, move it. Me and my brother, back in Brazil from way back, we always recorded bands. Like that's kind of what we always done for most part of our lives. And then 4 years, me and my brother had recording studios in São Paulo. We would record, bands and do all that. And one of these records we had recorded and played on, the singer wanted to go mix in the US, and we sent the record to this guy named Jay Baumgartner, and Jay is the owner of NRG, and Jay was like, oh, super excited about doing it. He really liked the record, and we went in there just for mixing, like for a month. We were like, all right, we're gonna spend a month there, mix the record and come back. But we just never came back because it ended up that Jay wanted to hire our band, and then he got us a deal. And then me and my brother decided to just stay straight, never really go back to Brazil to figure things out. And yeah, then for about 7 years I was doing that, it wasn't that band. We were touring, opening acts for like a bunch of bands. And
What band, for example?
Then we played with a lot of like the bands, like Jay produced like Papa Roach. We played all these tours, like Uproar tour. It was like,
So that
Papa
was more
Roach, Godsmack, Shine Down. The band was more grunge,
love it.
not so much into like the heavier rock. It was more on the grunge 90s type of stuff. But we did a bunch of that, touring with bands and traveled the whole US and got to see the US and, experience that whole, which is very different culture, very different place, for us, especially coming from Brazil. During that, we started working a lot with Jay on other of his projects. Me and my brother became, some of his main guys to do stuff together and just kept doing the studio thing, which also, is something that we always loved. So,
So a good musical background, as we said, especially rock, because you
a lot
bands
of
like
rock,
Papa Roach and all that. It's very rocky, actually. What's the name of the band? Didn't ask.
It was called Cruz.
Cruz.
CRUZ, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Cruz.
Cruz.
But yeah, like studio, it's kind of, a part of what leads to, also the culture of loving gear, whenever you're in the studio, gear is a big part, and we've always, researched, and being from a different country, not like the US, you have way more access to, kind of everything is there. In Brazil, things you get to chase a little bit more and kind of go after. And that's kind of somehow how it leads to Beatronics existing, you know.
And tell me what kind of bands were playing and recording at the studio.
Yeah, I mean, we were always into the rock background, me and Danny. So, you know, grew up listening to rock. So whenever we were, you know, whenever we came to NRG, and at NRG is like the home of the 2000 rock era. Like, so it was actually how we got to Jay, you know, because there was some bands like Seven Dust. I don't know if you're familiar with Seven Dust. Jay had mixed Seasons, for example, from Seven Dust, which at the time for me was a record I was listening a lot. But Jay did like at NRG. I mean, every single Linkin Park record was done at NRG for years. Like while we did a few records at NRG with that band. And for most of the time, Linkin Park was in one room and we were in the other. So it was a pretty cool experience, you know. Kind of coming from Brazil, it was kind of out of this world, you know, like where we were like, oh shit, you know, it was a big deal. But yeah, a lot of like most of the like nu metal 2000 era, like, you know, Incubus, Tractor, like literally everybody you can think of, you know, Evanescence, Korn, Limp Bizkit, all these, you know, kind of like nu metal 2000. A lot was born there at NRG. The studio, it's a pretty big structure. You know, there's 3 rooms, 2 Neve rooms, and you know the whole gear thing. Yeah, it's like whenever you're passionate about gear, you get into those rooms. It's like, oh hell yeah, this is exciting. You know, like
that's why maybe you made some stuff like Beatronics then. I mean, this background and all this, just as you said, access to this gear.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, at the time I was really broke, so it was a sum of 2 things. Like me and my brother, I wanted to have pedals, so it was one of the things was building the pedals because I could build pedals that I wouldn't buy. But not only that, like at the studio there at NRG, they had Wade, who was a house tech. So he was a guy who was, you know, there all the time fixing the gear. He was also an engineer, but he was a guy that knew everything from like taking the whole Neve apart and recapping it and doing the whole thing. So this was kind of my entry point. Was like, all right, I'm going to learn a little bit of this so at least I can eventually be fixing my own gear. Yeah, okay. I never ended up really loving fixing gear. I hate to try and fix gear. It's not something that I enjoy. But one entry point was kits. Making pedals with kids and, you know, learning all that. That's kind of what I did and what got me into it.
Okay.
And at the time, I mean, for a long period of time, I was just doing this for myself, fully, not with no intent of being a brand. It was just
that was not the project at the beginning.
Not at all. No, this was never the project. It became itself. Drove like to become a project, but we never really said, oh, let's plan on making a brand. No, that was,
we got it.
My goal was actually for that nobody would ever have it, you know, so it'd be my thing, my sounds, and ended up not going that way.
Let me know a bit about Beatronics. For how long you have the company now?
I want to say it's been something like 7 years-ish, something like that.
7 years.
Yeah, 6 to 7 years, I think. But yeah, I mean, the brand started from like me doing all that and making the pedals. But whenever I started making, I already really wanted to make them different for myself. I wasn't doing to like even like the logo and all that. I developed all that as a joke for myself. Was a brand that I was making for myself. Was a brand to be on my pedal board. You know.
Can you tell me a bit about that, because I can see the tattoo and what's the story behind the B?
It's just a nickname. It's a story that doesn't make sense for me to even, but it was my nickname. Like my friends who used to call me B. And then at some point I was making this Mutron type of clone and Mutronic is Musitronics, and I wrote Abeliatronics in it, and I started writing Abeliatronics in it. And then eventually it became Beatronics because I wanted to make it fit within the logo. And the day that we were actually designing the logo, I went to a friend's house. I was in Brazil on a trip and actually on the tour that we were playing in Brazil. And I called this friend that's a really good designer guy. And I was like, hey, dude, let me come in because I want you to help me make a logo for this thing. And we were making it as a fun thing. We're not making it like, oh, let's make a logo for a brand or nothing like that. But the boxes, my wife, she's an architect. And she does CAD drawing and all, like technical drawings and stuff. So we started developing the boxes when it was still meant just for me because I didn't want to have a pedal that looked normal, like on a normal box and all that. And that's how the brand existed before it really existed. It was already a brand. It had a face, it had a thing, but we're not trying to sell it. We're just trying to play it.
So when you started to actually selling it, because you said 7 years ago you started the company?
Yeah, I think it was about...
I remember when I discovered this one.
2016, I think was
2016.
the first NAMM that we did.
So it was
Something
immediately distributed all around the world 7 years ago?
It was the beginning of it. Yeah, like we did... Like I started selling because one day I had this friend, Greg Cash. He's like a session player in LA and stuff, and Cash... we were at NRG actually one day, and Cash was like, yo, dude, what's up with this pedal? And let me play. And it was a Walk to Hell, which nowadays doesn't exist, but it was one of the starting pedals together with the Octahive. Was the Octahive and the Walk to Hell. And it was a Walk to Hell, like a thing I had made it for me, low octave, very nasty, weird sounding. And Cash was like, let me play. And then he started playing. He started really like telling me, no, dude, sell me one. I was like, dude, I don't want to sell it. But one day I needed money. I really needed money. And I was like, dude, just take it, like I'll sell it. And then Cash got a few of his friends on the same week, like to say, hey, I have a couple more guys that want one. Then me and my brother were like, all right, let's put some money together and kind of build 50 of them. If we build 50, like we may be able to sell this in like 6 months, something like that, and that would be great. And at the time I put together like a little website and a thing, and it sold super quick. Like it sold in like a week, while we were expecting to sell it in like in 6 months. And then we had some money, and all the money that we had was like enough money for us to book a booth at NAMM. I already knew what NAMM was all about because I had been probably many years in a row. And we went in and we did a whole Beatronics booth style. If somebody's been to our booths at NAMM, it's like a little Comic-Con type of thing, And it was the first year that we went in and we did that, we made sure that everybody that was gonna pass through were gonna notice that thing existed, and it worked. Like our first NAMM show, we had 0 dealers, and we actually got a lot of dealers on board, and small boutique shops and stuff. But that was probably where it officially started, because at that day it was either we're gonna get dealers or we either not gonna get dealers and we're broke again with 0 money again. So thanks God it worked.
I perfectly remember the day when I found this one, the Overhive, in a shop in Paris, and actually I was super curious about the design of it, the Beatronic logo and all that, your universe actually. So I plugged it and I literally spent maybe 1.5 hours in the shop.
Yeah.
And sorry for the manager of the shop. I think about this one too. We use a lot the Octahive. Yeah, we used a lot in the past, and we're still using it a lot as a fuzz for demos, reviews, and all that. And it's for me one of the best fuzz ever, with the Octa thing over there.
Yeah.
So can we play a bit of music now?
Yeah, I think before that though, as you mentioned, these two, these were part of the whole beginning of the brand, and they were like they're very special pedals to me, especially, because they were things that I like, obviously nowadays we've had the brand. So whenever we make a pedal, the brand exists.
Okay.
Back then, whenever these were created, nothing existed. It was literally solely for my pedal board. But I have a good thing for you to try it out.
What's that?
It's on the Fat Bee boxes, but it's not a Fat
Yeah,
Bee.
because I know the Fat Bee.
Yeah, just
It's a surprise.
it's a surprise for you, for us to try it out today. That's
Donc c'est vraiment une surprise, hein, les amis, pour ceux qui se posent la question. Je ne sais pas du tout ce qu'il y a là-dessous. Il m'en a parlé un peu avant qu'il y avait une surprise, mais je ne sais pas ce que c'est. It's an Octahive, but with a small box and without the... What's that?
so that's the Octahive V2.
Okay.
That's not out yet, but it's gonna be out whenever people watch that video.
Okay.
And that's Octahive, classic Octahive sounds with the functionalities of the Vespa.
All right.
So you can flip the modes, double tapping. You can momentarily hold, and you can do all the digitally control part. And it's very smooth. The changes between one mode to the other. I think you're gonna really dig it because I know
It's
this
beautiful.
is one of your favorite circuits. The face plate is inspired by Jimi Hendrix's old military jacket.
All right. Yeah. The
and-
famous photographs in London.
Yeah, we wanted to make so it has the
Marshalls.
Marshall vibe, and yeah, so
I get it.
that's the Octahive V2.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's just good work. The design, I love the design of it.
It's crazy.
I love the simplicity of it, actually.
is, yeah.
These ones are more complex,
Yeah,
and this one is pretty cool because you just have one switch, 3 buttons.
yeah. It became now part of the Baby series. Joining these two, which is like pretty cool. Still same circuit. Still using the transformer and the circuit.
Okay.
We managed to fit everything inside the little box.
So you didn't change the sound really. It's more
No,
about
it's
the
an
controls.
Octahive sound. Yeah, it's an
more about the
Octahive
control.
sound. It's more about the interaction with it, size as well, and it's actually really cool. Like the way, you're gonna see once you play it compared to the Vespa and the way it is. It's really cool.
Let's try it.
Yeah, let's do it. You can, it's like the Vespa. You can, if you are in one, you can move to the other. If you're in, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on this one, there's a few different things from the Vespa, right? And this one, you can actually set the speed of that momentary change to be either fully immediate or have the little bit of
Aggressive.
the latency, It's a pedal that was a classic. For us, for the brand, it's been, it's been, because it was one of the first pedals. It was a pedal that back then, the brand was much smaller and we were not, promoting or doing marketing. So it was never a pedal that we had people make videos for it. But the pedal naturally was a favorite for a lot of people, most people are yes, I love this thing. So we wanted to make some improvements, make some things, and I feel like it's a really cool and fun pedal to play,
So let's talk about the design of the pedal. You talked about the design of the box, but there is a special thing inside the Beatronics.
Yeah.
The PCB is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, it was always something like at the very beginning of it, whenever I had this friend who was designing the PCB for me, and like I was like, oh, is it possible that we make it in the shape of the B? It was kind of a fun thing, you know. And then after we did one, we were like, all right, the next one has to have something. And we kind of went taking further and further. Nowadays, with every pedal, one part for me, the design in general is something that I really care about it, that I like it. So the way the pedal is, the knobs, I love all those aspects. With the pedals, we put out like posters and this, so we always make a cool artwork for the PCB, and then we use part of the poster inside the PCB and do all those things. It's a fun thing, you know. It's kind of like why not? Why make it boring?
Yeah.
You know, if we can make it cooler, you know. So
the design is really important today on the market. I mean, it makes a difference for sure.
Yeah.
And yours is really personal. I mean, the thing you have in your head in terms of design, it's the same in terms of sound. Actually, at the end,
yeah, just
it sounds like it looks. That's what I like about your stuff. Let's play a bit of music. Can we try? We tried some classics. Can we try the Royal Jelly? I don't know that one.
Yes, that's an actual very interesting one. Like one of the, I would say, was the staple for the brand. Like was our probably the first pedal that became more popular for us. And I developed this one way back, like with this guy named Howard Davis. He's the guy who created the original Deluxe Memory Man.
Yep.
And he's like a legend on circuit design. And at the time, I think it didn't really exist many or if any pedals that really did the whole blending of fuzz and drive. And it's very interesting because it gives you a very big picture of everything from fuzz to drive and ways to put them together. So yeah, let's do it.
So let's talk about the custom shop thing.
All right.
Your pedal here, the Vespa, actually it's writing Tone Factory on the side.
Yeah.
This one, I love it. I use it a lot in the studio. And you specially made it for us. But
Yes.
you can make a pedal for people who ask for a special design or put their name on it or something like that.
Yeah, this was whenever the brand started, every pedal I was making for me, I was hand painting them and doing the whole thing. Like for me, obviously, as the brand grew, I realized that it was going to be hard for every single pedal to be like that. And that kind of became more custom shop. But yeah, like people can, for instance, like the Vespa, it's one that we have that people can add their name. And also we receive all kinds of requests, you know, from people who want their dogs in it. But we try to always make it in a very artsy way, you know. It's in like our custom shop, it's like handmade, like stencil type of process. So it's not like you can just go in and print something in it, you know. That's not how it's made. On our website, there is a section where we usually have pedals that we made. People can also come in and custom order, and then we have it in shops, you know. Some select shops will have custom shop additions and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Cool. I think people of Tone Factory, the audience, didn't listen to this one for a long time. Can
Alright,
we
cool.
play it now?
Let's do it. Some Velcro fuzz. One interesting thing, these are kind of somehow have a similar history because this one was also developed together with Howard. While this is a pretty simple overdrive, it has a lot of character. It's a pedal that has a lot of character. A lot of people use it in different ways. I like a lot to use it as like an always on type of like thing that stay there just to bring some body to, you know, as you hit the guitar harder, it crunches a little bit, but you could go gain all the way up and almost, it's like a fuzz type of thing. We've seen metal guys using this to push their metal amps. Yeah, a bunch of metal guys use this to...
As a boost or something?
Yeah, like one guy that's not even that metal, but like Rabia, you know, like he's a guy who plays this, like pushing his amp. And a lot of people listen to it and like are like, damn, like because his amp is already crunched. So whenever you push with this, it really becomes, you know, like as in a distortion thing, but it's not like the pedal itself, it's distorting. The pedal is pushing the amp into distortion. It sounds really good and it's a great pedal.
So now let's talk about the more complex pedals you bring today. Let's start with this one, the Swarm.
Yeah, the Swarm is like probably the craziest, gnarliest sounding thing, which is like it's very, very unique sounding. Yeah, the Swarm came from a friend of mine, Joe Barisi. He is like producer for Tool, for every single rock band that you can think. And Joe is a very big gearhead, like insane, especially pedals, vintage stuff. Like, and Joe had this pedal that he really liked and was his secret weapon. And long story short, I kind of end up stealing this thing, and which became the Swarm. Yeah, we call it a fuzz harmonizer, but it's a PLL type of circuit, phase locked loop, and like this thing, it's like it will do type of, you know, like square wave fuzz, like very, you know, very glitchy and that type of thing. But then it also has two harmonies that are 1 octave apart, and you can select between 9 different harmonies that you can select from. Okay. And you can apply the frequency modulation to the harmonies, and that goes insane. You'll see it does the craziest movements and drops, and it's a pedal it's not worth explaining it. It's only worth hearing it. It's not worth explaining it because it's yeah.
two other crazy stuff that I love, the Zombie and the CB. This one is pretty special, and we already tried it on Tone Factory. That was totally crazy. I'm really curious about your settings while I am playing.
Let's do it.
And now the CB, one of the latest.
Yes.
It's kind of very crazy stuff because we have a chorus, we have a harmonizer, we have a lot of things.
Yeah, the CB, it's like I would say it's probably one of the most complete chorus pedals in existence because it does movements for chorus that no other chorus pedals do that people wouldn't even consider as a chorus. So the idea was to create something that was going to be, fully analog circuit, very great sounding analog chorus if you were to use it as a basic chorus. But then you also have the option of moving those waves in all kinds of direction. And it is also very complete as far as features like MIDI, CV, all the craziness, even like the input selection. You can use, your synths in it. You can use anything you want to. But it is a pedal that has a lot in that world of like chorus. I think it does everything the world of chorus could ever do. So
what I remember when I plugged for the first time the pedal, I spent like maybe 4 hours to understand the whole thing because it's, let's say, complex.
It is. Yeah.
But then the first thing came to my mind that, as you said, you can do something pretty standard, pretty normal, or something pretty crazy. Actually, you can go very, very far. You told me it took 2 years to develop this thing.
Yeah, it was a long process. This is actually a cut, let's say a brother that was born from this. In the middle of the process that we were developing this, we were already developing this. And then in the middle, we were like, what if we applied some of those concepts but into a filter? And that's when we jumped into this. At the time, we didn't have the chips to really go with this. It was the chip shortage and all that. And even the Vespa, it's a distant cousin as well, because the Vespa, once we started developing the CB and we knew it was going to go far as capabilities and complexness, we wanted to release something that had simple digital control features, and that's how the Vespa came along.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, they are all kind of somehow connected.
thank you very much, Felipe, for being
Thank
here
you,
today with
Dave.
us. It was a pleasure, man.
I'm stoked to be here. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I just wanted to say a few words about your work and your pedals because they're really musical. We can, understand now why they're musical because you're a great musician. You have a big background, as we said at the beginning of the video, you have a big musical experience, but they're also pretty unique. And you're always looking for something new when you create a pedal. We can feel it. So congratulations for that. I'm a huge fan, and I'm a bigger fan, even bigger
Thank you,
now,
brother.
of Beatronics.
Thank you.
So thank you again for coming in, and see you very soon in France.
Thank you for having me. Salute, let's me.